On July 17th, 1996, Trans World Airlines Flight 800 exploded and crashed into the Atlantic Ocean off the coast of Long Island, New York. All 230 people on board were killed. It is the third deadliest aviation accident in US history. The plane, a Boeing 747 en route from John F. Kennedy International Airport in New York to Rome via Paris, was scheduled to depart for Charles de Gaulle Airport around 7 p.m. However, delays due to disabled ground equipment and a luggage mismatch meant that takeoff was delayed for an hour. Taxi and takeoff proceeded without incident. Weather in the area was good, light winds with scattered clouds. The last radio transmission from the crew occurred at 8:30 p.m. when they acknowledged instructions from Boston Air Traffic Control to climb to 15,000 feet, or 4,600 meters. The flight's last recorded transponder signal was recorded by a local FAA radar site at 8:31 p.m. 38 seconds later, the captain of an East Wind Airlines Boeing 737 reported to Boston Air Traffic Control that he just saw an explosion out there, adding, "We just saw an explosion up ahead of us here, about 16,000 feet, or something like that. It just went down into the water." Subsequently, several air traffic control sites in the New York, Long Island area received reports from other planes reporting the same explosion. Witnesses in the vicinity of the crash reported they heard explosions, accompanied by a large fireball, with several pieces of burning wreckage plummeting into the ocean. Rescue vessels reached the crash site within minutes, searching for survivors in the water, but found none. The National Transportation Safety Board was notified around 8:50 p.m., assembled a team in Washington, D.C., and arrived at the scene early the next morning. Meanwhile, initial witness accounts led many to believe that a bomb had exploded on board, or the plane had been hit by a surface-to-air missile. To investigate these leads, the FBI conducted a parallel investigation alongside the NTSB's accident investigation. Victims and wreckage were recovered by scuba divers and remote-operated vehicles. Trawlers were used to recover wreckage embedded on the sea floor. In all, 95% of the airplane wreckage was eventually recovered. The search and recovery effort identified three main areas of wreckage underwater: the yellow zone, containing wreckage from the front of the plane, the red zone, the center, and the green zone containing wreckage from the rear of the plane. Wreckage was transported to shore and placed in a leased aircraft hangar in Calverton, New York. This facility became the command center and headquarters for the investigation. The plane's cockpit voice recorder and flight data recorder were recovered 1 week after the accident and immediately shipped to Washington for analysis. The remains of all 230 victims were recovered and positively identified, the last over 10 months after the disaster. Close examination of the wreckage revealed no evidence of structural fatigue, corrosion, or mechanical damage that could have caused the breakup. The airplane structure showed no signs of a bomb explosion or a missile attack, although the backs of several passenger seats had an unknown red-brown substance on them. According to the seat manufacturer, this was adhesive used in the construction of the seats. However, pieces of wreckage contained trace elements of explosives. The NTSB considered the possibility that the plane's use in a recent dog training bomb detection exercise was the reason. The board concluded it was quite possible that the residue was transferred from the boots of military personnel assisting in the recovery operation and was not present prior to the disaster. Although it was unable to determine the exact source of this residue, the lack of any corroborating evidence led the NTSB to conclude that the in-flight breakup of TWA Flight 800 was not initiated by a bomb or missile strike. So what caused the explosion and breakup of Flight 800? Examining the wreckage, the NTSB concluded that the first stage in the breakup was a fracture in the wing center section of the aircraft, caused by a rapid increase in pressure in the wing's fuel tank. Due to the lack of evidence of an explosive device, They concluded that this could only have been caused by an explosion of the jet fuel and the mixture of air and fuel vapors in the tank. Tests recreating the conditions of the flight indicated that this mixture was flammable. With these conditions in place, a simple ignition source could cause a disaster. However, the NTSB was unable to find one with certainty. They concluded that the ignition source was likely a short circuit in the wiring of the fuel quantity indication system. When the fuel tank exploded, cracks spread across the plane's fuselage and severed the entire front section of the plane. The remainder of the plane then climbed erratically before descending into the ocean. On July 18, 2008, the US Secretary of Transportation announced a rule that required airlines to pump inert gas into fuel tanks in order to prevent a repeat of the disaster. The TWA Flight 800 memorial was erected in Shirley, New York on July 14, 2004. It includes landscaped grounds, flags from the 13 countries of the victims, and a granite memorial with their names engraved.